All right, welcome into week three of the Picky Maroon Tide preview episode. We are pleased to have Coach Jamey Dubose, head coach of the Biloxi Indians, with us on the call this morning. Coach, thanks again for your time.
Yeah, thank you for having me this morning. It's great to be on.
So, Coach Dubose, in his second year at Biloxi, and coach, a heck of a resume, three state titles in Alabama, two at Prattville in the 6A level, one with 7A Phoenix City. We know as well as anyone, Alabama, a tough place to play and win championships. They love their high school football in Alabama. And coach, let's just kind of start there. 18 years of experience, and I want to go back to just the coolest thing that I've read about you so far. You described a sit-down meeting with Bill Clark, another really good coach at UAB, heck of a coach, multiple Coach of the Year, Conference USA titles, Independence win over 13th ranked BYU was something that stands out, I think, to everyone. Clay being a USM alumni, certainly very familiar with Conference USA. But Coach, you described a process that you guys sit down and come up with. Can you tell us a little bit about just some key points of that process?
Well, we basically it's a funny story. We sat down at a country's barbecue. We did it all summer more or less, and just he got me to come there to be the offensive coordinator and said, "Hey, when you get here, we're going to win a lot of state championships." And of course, everybody tells you that when they're trying to get you to come and be a coach. But I trusted Bill a lot, and he's been a friend for a long time. And we just every day at lunch we'd go sit down and talk, and we'd talk about what it would take. We felt like to build a blueprint to win. And it's been really successful for the places that I've been to. I took that blueprint out of Prattville and I went to Florence, Alabama for a couple of years. They had never been to a playoff. We got them in the semifinals in 2 years. And then I went to Phoenix City, which had tremendous talent. And Patrick Nix has taken over after I've left, and he's continued that going. And we got them back on the map and put them in a couple of playoffs, deep runs and state championship runs before I left there. And went to Lowndes, did the same process. And first year went to the quarterfinals, second year went to the semifinals. And barring a tragic deal with my dad and the loss of his life, and I had to come back to Alabama, and then led me to Biloxi. So we're now in the process here working, and that process just kind of includes a lot. It's from culture to how we practice, to how we work out, to the process we even do on game day. We have a belief that we do things and how we do them, and more or less it's just it's how we do our day-to-day activities. I've been doing the same Tuesday practice schedule for since 2004. People ask me, do you want to change? And I always ask them why. It's one. And you got to believe in something. It's kind of like in offense. I tell people all the time when I speak, you got to have something you believe in. At Picayune, it might be just talking about them breaking things down. It might be the toss power right downhill. If you believe in it, then believe in it. And it's something you hang your hat on every day. And, if it's running the inside zone and running double read and triple read off of it, or whatever you do, you got to believe in something, and your kids will buy in. Kids want direction. I should say young men, but players want direction. They want something that they believe in. They want something that you believe in and you can build confidence in. And, that's part of the process. And, process, everybody talks about believe in the process, but you got to have a process, and you got to do it every day. A lot of people have these slogans, all in and standard and all that. But, what is your standard? What is it? Our standard is best. And that's part of our process. And everybody says, what does that mean? Well, we want your best every day. Best is the best, and we demand the best in everything we do. And again, all that leads into what that process you asked me. And I kind of entitled it. I tell people it's called the blueprint. I've got a coaches thing that we go over every year, and that's our blueprint. We do it preseason. It goes down all the way to the state championship game. And people, when I came here, says, Coach, we've never been in a state championship game. And I said, well, there's the problem right there. You don't talk about it. You got to talk about it. You got to believe it. And it's something that gets you to where you got to get to, hopefully.
Coach, two more quick questions for you, and I'm going to turn it over to Clay. 18 years, you're pretty much done. Said, grandkids and kind of enjoyed retirement and holidays and things like that. What about Biloxi drew you back out to want to coach again?
Well, I like the coast. First of all, the weather's great. I love being on the coast, and there was a job possibility. And I did look at doing some other things, man. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if you've ever been in that position, but all I've ever done is coach football. I graduated college. Even in college, once I got through playing, I jumped on at a high school, started helping out, and it's all I've ever done. And it's something that's been in my heart forever. I was looking at selling insurance. I was doing it. Me and my wife had a long sit down when I did the retirement thing, and it was like, what can we do? And we started writing things down. That list got shorter and shorter, and it was just the opportunity came out of nowhere. Coach Lofton, our AD here, gave me a phone call and said, hey, I've got a job opening. I hear you're just sitting around. And I said, I'd love to get back into it. I came over here. I like the vision that I heard from their administration, the things that they said. I knew it was going to be a big battle, because you look at some of the coaches that's been here. I don't run from it. I'm an honest guy. You'll find out about that. Bobby Hall was a very successful coach in Mississippi, came here, this or that. And then you had John Shannon, which done a great job here, very successful college coach, and there's been some really good coaches come through here. And, getting to the big time game has not gotten there yet. And that's something that really challenges me. I love challenges. I love to go places like when I went to Florence, they had never won a playoff game. It got hot and we did really, really well. It's been a little slower here, but at the same time, we're making strides. We're 2-0 in JV right now. We celebrate wins. We dance. Dance when you win. We dance at a JV game when we win. Winning is contagious, and you've got to have that mentality, and you got to start young. Our 9th grade is winning right now. Our JV's winning. Last Friday night was a huge win for us, man. We got back in the locker room and we celebrated. And we've been close around here. Last year, I told everybody, if we would have played halves last year, just the first half, we would have been 8-2 last year. We were good in a half, but we couldn't finish in a 4-quarter game of 48 minutes. And that's where we've got to get to. And that's where we're trying to build to and get to now. So I think just the fire, the competitiveness I have inside me, the desire to come, hey, let's do something nobody's been able to do type thing, and put it on the map. And I think our kids are playing harder. I think we're becoming more of a physical group. I've watched Picayune from a distance, and they're a physical bunch on the coast. And we want that mentality. That's what I want to do, and that's why we played them. Everybody looks at our schedule. A lot of our coaches did preseason and said, Coach, you didn't do us any favors, man. This is tough. But you're not going to get to the top playing teams that you're going to win against, or playing teams that's not going to challenge you to get you to where you got to get to. I'm not worried about wins and losses. I'm not. That when you're a football coach and you're just worried about your win-loss record, you're not going to get your program to where it needs to get to. Like you said, I've been fortunate, and I've got a resume, and I've done things. So my thing is to get us there quickly, as we got to get that competition level up. And we got to have our kids playing at that level every day. They got to see what great programs are like. They got to see what these quarterfinal, semifinal programs are like. And I think they're starting to see that. I think they're starting to actually understand what it takes and what you got to do. And I can see it in our practice approach. I can see it in our game day approach. And I thought last Friday, this is no lie, we walked into the locker room when our kids came down at the end of the day. And for once, since I've been here, and I said this, I wished I would have recorded it. For once, it actually felt like I was at a game day locker room that was supposed to be a championship type locker room. And I told our guys it transferred into the game, and it transferred into a win. Did we get 4 quarters in last week? No, I thought we still struggled in the second half, but we found a way to win finally in those big ball games.
Coach, I appreciate you shared that. Last thing for me, and just more of a comment, and I'll turn it over to Clay. I love something that you wrote about mindset. Man, I love that. I think that's so important, and I think it's difficult, right? In some cases, you mentioned kids that haven't won, haven't been to championships, to have them start thinking that way. And you certainly got to start thinking that way before you can ever take those steps to get there. Clay, I'll go to you, my friend.
Coach, it was cool to me, following you on, I'll still call it Twitter, I guess, X or whatever. One of your reposts was the championship information for this year's state title is going to be at Mississippi State. And maybe that's commonplace for a high school football coach, but I'm going to be honest with you, you take this job in Biloxi, and to see that reposted from a Biloxi spot, I said, oh, this guy's got a different type of ambition for what the Indians can kind of be. And you spoke to that, to get the kids to buy into that mindset. What does that kind of take?
Well, you gotta talk it, you gotta see it, you gotta believe it. One of the first things in anything you do has got to do with your faith. Faith is about belief in what you want. And if we're just doing this to do it, you're never going to get there. And it may or may not happen, but I believe it every day. When I do print out schedules at the beginning of the year, I put first round, second round, third round, fourth, all the way to state championship date. And our people here, I remember when I sent that out, somebody was like, why are you putting that? Well, I plan on being there. When I start, people always ask, what are your goals? Well, every year at every program I've ever been at, goals are to win the first game, goals are to win your rivalry games, and then of course goals are to get into the playoffs. Goals are to win your region and to win the South and to be in the state championship game. You've got to have those beliefs and those things. You got to have faith that you can get there. But if you don't talk about it, guys, and you don't ever say it, it's kind of like breaking it down at the end of practice. Sometimes people don't break it down. If you don't break it down on region champs, state champs, and you just don't start believing it, if you just say it, then it's never going to happen. So you've got to convince these guys, but it's about a lifestyle, man. I mentioned something earlier, the words all in. Everybody uses that as a slogan, or is it a lifestyle? For me, it's a lifestyle. I'm all in. When a football season starts, when open week comes, I don't have plans to be gone. I have plans to practice. And that was something I had to change here. We hit open week and everybody's like, well, we're going to practice that week. Well, yeah, we got a region game the next week, or we got a region game that Friday night, so you've got to have those things set in your program, and for your kids to actually believe it and get there, and two, I don't ever wear my state championship rings. Everybody, they're great memories and everything else. And, I remember before I ever had one, I always said, if I ever get one, I'll never take it off. And then when you get one, you want to put it up because it's a reminder of what you had once. Winning, I told you, is contagious. Well, getting to a state championship is contagious. You look at these programs that go year in and year out, it's like the next year don't want to be the year to get there. And that's what we built at Prattville. We went at Prattville, I was there 8 years, and 6 out of the 8 years we went to a state championship game. The other 2, we got beat in the semifinals only because the clock ran out. Or either it was a bad call that held us from getting there. Okay. So there's a reason why we didn't do it. You got to come up with why. But at the end of the day, it's all about what you want and where you want your program to get to, what you talk about every day. Everybody always talks about culture. Well, what is culture? Culture is about what you do every day. And if you talk about these state championships, you believe in these state championships, you believe. Look, I told our guys last week on Wednesday, we finish our day every day with words of the week, and our coaches talk. Well, our word of the week last week was pride, and Coach did a great job talking about it and everything else. I told them, though, when we broke it down Wednesday, we were in our stadium, and I said, guys, look around right now. I said, I was here early in the morning doing my walk. I know we're going to win Friday night because I see it. I said, I've seen it. I've visualized it. I know it. And that's what you got to start making them understand, is having those quiet moments that they can see themselves being successful. Uh, Coaching, listen, guys, everybody runs either the inside zone, the toss, the ISO. There's only so many ways you can do it. There's so many defensive fronts you can line up, but it's about motivating your guys to play at a different level. And it's about them trusting you. When I played high school football, I don't know about you, I was in the early mid 80s, somewhere in there. It was just, we believed in the coach no matter what they said. Now it's transpired. You've got to get their belief in you. You've got to win them over. And that goes back to the process, and that goes back to your program and your culture, and having each other's back, and everything else. And that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build the person. When I started winning state championships or having successful years, I stole a lot of things, man. You mentioned Bill Clark. I coached under Rush Probst. I coached under Spence McCracken that was at Robert E. Lee over in Alabama. That was a very successful coach. I played for Jamey Riggs that won at T.R. Miller, millions of state championships. I've just been fortunate, man. I've been under guys that know how to do it. I've stole just tons of things from them. I'm obsessed. My life doesn't have organization, but my football part of my life does. My wife, she often laughs about the way I do things outside of here. But when I'm in this room, I can go over there and pull a practice schedule out from 2004 where we had walkthroughs, and I've got notes written down. Bill Clark was a head coach at that time. So again, I study this thing, and I study people. Winning is about people. Winning is about being able to motivate others to go higher than they've ever expected themselves to go to. So I'm more into the world of us motivating and building a culture of winning than the X's and O's part. If you can get your guys to play at a tremendous level and believe in each other and play as a unit, then we're got, like, for instance, our talk this week was there's no negotiable for effort in our program. When I turn a film on, there's just got to be 100% effort. Are you going to screw up? Yeah, everybody's going to mess up. We're all going to mess up. That's what the world's made up of, is us falling down and getting back up. But when we turn a film on, I need to see 11 guys playing. I need to see 11 guys playing harder than they've ever played before. So there's a non-negotiable right now in our program right now for the word effort. And that's how it's going to get us to the next level, I believe. And that's how we're going to be able to climb this ladder.
Coach, you've been part of, and then you've certainly seen some great football at both Prattville, Central Phoenix City. The coaching staff, you talk about getting players to believe. You're a high school coach. Even we call Biloxi from Picayune, y'all are a high resource high school to us. you hear that term in college football, but being from Picayune and then seeing Biloxi, but you don't get to bring in 8 or 9 guys as assistants. Kind of talk to us about getting the other guys on your staff to believe, and I hate to use the term fall in line, but everybody pull in the right direction.
Well, it's all about the people you have around you. I've been fortunate to have really good football coaches. I tell people all the time, I really don't deserve the things that's happened. When people talk about me, they need to talk about the assistant coaches and the players, because that's the people that do it. I'm no different than anybody. I'm just a guy that's going to roll his sleeves up and go to work every day. I would rather be an assistant coach than a head coach. It's just something that's fallen my way, and I take pride in it. But at the end of the day, our assistant coaches here, we were able to bring in an offensive line coach from South Panola, Matthew Prentice, who I think is doing an outstanding job with our offensive line. And then I hired another offensive line coach that came, wanted to be a part of this and wanted to learn. Spencer Hudson, got him up from North Mississippi also. 2 really good guys that are very young. It's going to be future head coaches that do an outstanding job. I got Eric Collier as a defensive coordinator to come over from Theodore. He was a successful head coach over there. And I think I hired 3 other head coaches to come in. And you can't be scared to hire good guys. That's what I tell people all the time. You got to hire good people first. I learned this from Spence McCracken. you don't necessarily hire a really good football coach. You hire the best people person. You got to hire people that can get with your kids and learn to love them and learn to mold them like clay and can really associate. I think you got to have a great mixture on a staff of young and old, because in today's world, like right now we're on here, look, man, I have to have people show me how to use huddle sometimes still. That's our way of watching film. But
Sure.
that's why I got guys that are technology sound and they get in there and they do all that stuff. I think it's neat what all they do. But, you know, me personally, I probably would love to have the old telephone with the wire on it still that we just have to walk around the room. But, you know.
Meeting at a McDonald's to
Oh,
exchange
yeah.
film, huh, Coach?
It's those times. That was wonderful days to get up and get to talk about the game on Friday night and all that kind of stuff, or drive down and put a film on a bus, and then you got to go to the bus station to pick it up. But at the end of the day, it's about the people. You know, it's not about the X's and O's. I can teach guys what I need them to know. Sometimes I tell people you can hire coaches that know too much, and they come in here and they want to do too many different things that you don't need to do. We live on a KISS method. Keep it simple, stupid. And I am stupid. So we try to keep it very simple, and we try to do what we do. That's why I admire Coach Cody down at Picayune, because, man, everybody says, well, they simple, they do, but they're good at what they do. He believes in what he does, and that's how you win. You know, when you out here doing all this other kind of stuff and watching Monday Night Football and coming back in and trying to scheme things up, your kids, you lose them. They don't believe in it. You know, his guys down there believe in what they're doing, and he's got them to that point. And what I'm trying to say is you got to hire solid guys that are people first people that can really communicate and are not scared to get involved with people. That you don't want those silent type. You don't want the type. You want the people, and the people that are eager to learn. I want coaches that want to be college coaches. I want coaches that want to be head coaches. I don't want a guy that just wants to be assistant his whole life because he's not motivated. I want a guy that is motivated. We tell our guys, don't ever run from another job if it's better in your career, because in Alabama, I know I've got 12, 13 guys that are head coaches right now. I think I got up to 18 one time. I take pride in that. I want guys to promote themselves and to get to where they need to get to. So we give our guys a lot of responsibility here also. It's not about me, man. I look, this guy's in charge of pregame meal. This guy's in charge of motivating this group over here with the leadership council. This guy's got the offense. This guy's got special teams. All I do is sit around saying, hey, we got everything taken care of. And, these guys do a wonderful job. And that's, to me, I think that's what you got to do. When I first became a head football coach, I thought it's a me doing everything deal. And let me tell you something. If you try to do that, you're going to fail real quick. Like, I didn't learn that till I went and got with Coach Clark, Bill Clark, and he did a great job of doing the things that I said. And, Rush Probst was a great talker, and I took a lot of things from him, good and bad. And then of course, Spence McCracken was a people person. We ran wing T when I was with him, man. That was all we did. And I used to get frustrated. Coach, can we spread it out? We got great athletes. And he's like, no, this is what we believe in. And that's where I learned that, you've got to believe in something. And, and then Coach Clark gave me the process, and you got to have something that molds and builds people and things like that. So again, I think it's not about the knowledge of a person you hire an assistant. It's about the type person you hire, and you want to hire good people first.
Coach, in past stops, you've talked about the numbers. Biloxi being a Picayune guy, me and Rick, born and raised, we see a track meet, we see a basketball game, we see a baseball game. Biloxi's always had beautiful athletes, and then, hate to say it, but kind of the lack of success over on the football side. How do you draw out some of these hallway folks and get them over in your field house?
Well, you got to walk them every day. I tell people I recruit the hallways every day. I found a kid yesterday. I asked our coaches in a staff meeting last night, how did he get through? He moved here 3 weeks ago from Gulfport. He's about a 6'3" kid that played offensive line for him, wasn't even playing here. And I'm like, dude, what do you want to play? And he's like, yes, sir. I just didn't know who to go talk to. So that's how little things happen sometimes. And we were able to get this sophomore out who's 6'3". I mean, I'm glad he's here now. And but he was just walking our hallways. And, he told me, he said, you got to listen to kids sometimes. I said, well, do you want to play football? He said, well, I kind of fallen out of love with it. I said, well, why? And he said, well, I want to play D-line. I said, well, come play D-line for us. I mean, hey, the kid's 6'3". I want to get him out. You don't find bodies like that walking around everywhere. So we get in our hallways and we talk and we try to build relationships with guys. And, the next thing is we want to promote other sports. I don't want kids to think that I just want them to play football. We got great basketball talent here. We got guys running around that are long and can play different sports for us. And that's what I tell them every day. Man, I want you to love basketball. I don't mind if you tell me football is your second sport. Who knows that I had a guy like that at Phoenix City. And right now he's playing with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's not playing basketball, but he told me one time his love was basketball. And that's why he played for Clemson. His name was Justin Ross, a wide receiver that made the one-handed catch in the state championship game. So again, it's not about you thinking the kids got to love football first. You got to get the kids out and you got to get these kids playing before they're actually going to love your sport. And change can happen, but you've got to be in the hallways. They got to get to know you. You got to build a relationship with them. And then over time, you'll win them over to be able to come out.
Coach, let's talk about some of your kids by name. JoJo Thomas off to a really good start. You look at Hayden Ainsworth, a highly recruited kid, your quarterback, and Ramsey. Kind of tell us what you liked about the Indians through these first couple games.
JoJo is a kid. When you look at him when he runs out there, man, you're like, this kid can't play. He's about 5'7", 5'8". He's short, but he's got a heart that's big as gold. I mean, the kid is running the ball extremely hard. He's doing a great job for us, and we just had to try to find him a home. We played him at slot, but I think his natural position. We had another guy, Jalen Johnson, who played running back for us for a couple of years. We've moved him to slot. He's a better player at slot than he was. He's got an East Mississippi offer now, and a couple of other offers. He's having a really good year. He's really good in space. And that was what I had to find. And we've been able to find a couple of other. I got a guy named Marquise Metcalf back out for football that was a basketball player. He's one of our running backs you'll see on Friday night that will rotate in. We play about 3 running backs in the course of a night. And he's a guy that I got out that's just been a great pickup and somebody that I'm excited to have. And, Hayden Ainsworth, he's a kid that's an offensive lineman that reclassified. I'd love to have him another year, but he wants to get on out. He's got the grades. He's a 4+ student in the classroom. He's a 6'5", 320 guy, 330 guy right now. And I know Picayune's got a couple of those too, but he's a hard worker. This kid is a mature, extremely hard worker, smart kid. He's a locker room guy. He's a program builder. I'm excited for him and what he's going to do in his future. I think, some of the guys dropped off of him a little bit because they wanted him to see his senior year and build a little toughness and do that. But I mean, he showed me last week, he took a D lineman from Pascagoula on an outside zone reach block. And on film, he's got him 25 yards downfield and he dumps him for a pancake. And that's what I've been looking to get out of him. And now he's getting to that level. And, I'm excited for him. But, we've got William Lai. William Lai is a kid, plays DB for us, got a North Alabama offer. Not a big kid, but playing really over his head right now, doing an outstanding job. Jordan Ramsey, quarterback for us. We lose him week 1. Talking about program, we lose him week 1 in a tough Holmes County game. And Holmes County, you want to talk about athletes, they had them running all over the field that night. They got 6'4" wideouts out there that I'd never seen before in my life. So, we lose Jordan in the first half of the first game, and we're hanging our hat on him, game plan built around. So we interject our backup quarterback, and he keeps us in the game, gives us a chance to win there at the end of the game. And, that's program. When you can take a guy that you're not expected to get on the field that night and boom, he's able to give us that opportunity and that chance. And you know, that's what we're trying to do right now in our program is build depth. We've got to get that second tier athlete to play like that first tier. That's what we were able to do at Prattville. That's what we were able to do at Central is build the program to where our backups were challenging our starters every day, because the way you win is competition. And I tell people that every day. That's why I say I love kids that play other sports. You can't build competition in kids these days. When I was young, and maybe when y'all were young, when the lights were on, when the sun was out, we were competing in the yard against other kids in the neighborhood, or we were competing across town against other kids in other neighborhoods. Now you got kids sitting in the house playing video games and things like that. So I love competition. And I think that's what we're missing in society today in our high schools and in our programs. We've got so many kids that are specializing, and I hate that word, at the 14-year-old and the 15-year-old. You don't know what a kid's going to develop into. I tell them that every day. And like when a kid comes in here and tells me, Coach, I'm thinking about just doing one sport, I'm like, okay, so you're willing to give up the opportunity to make $200,000, $500,000 a year in 2 years, 3 years. And he's a 6'2" kid. And he's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, okay, 6'2" in basketball is average, 6'2" in football at corner. Guys are talking about you the day they walk in the door, man. And you can make $200,000 if you can go out there and play in football at 6'2". At basketball, 6'2" is dime a dozen. You know, everybody's got them. You know, so I'm not knocking basketball, but I'm trying to make these kids understand. Open up your chances in life to change what you have right now, because the way they're paying college athletes right now with NIL and things like that, if God granted you with 6'5" or 6'4" or 6'1", man, utilize it and see what you can do with it. So, you know, not only can it pay for your education now, but it can also make a living for your family and yourself. So, you know, we just try to promote our guys to understanding what we're trying to do and build that competition level. And, you know, we're not there yet. Man, I talk about Picayune a lot if you can't pick up, because I love to follow great programs, and coaches build a tremendous program down there, and they've got a lot of great tradition. I love following good high school. I was following just a second ago. If you don't know, the guy that at Pulaski, I just went blank, Coach Kelly. He was at Pulaski, and I was watching a documentary. Now he's coaching at another place in Arkansas, trying to build it up. You know, I love to follow these guys that do this and just watch what they do and how they build programs. And I watched a program the other day, another program out of Arkansas, and I went blank right now, but I just, that's what I do, is I follow these guys and I watch what they do and try to emulate that, because I think it's wonderful when they build things from the ground up and do it. But yeah, the competition is something we're trying to up around here to make us better every day.
Coach, Rick and I had a chance to call a perfect season for Picayune a couple of years ago. Just an incredible run. We both kind of nerded out on this Central Phoenix City season. I know we've talked Biloxi. My final question, man, can you just describe that run? And then is this score right from that championship game, a 52-7 score in the championship?
There's a story behind that also, and not everybody knows this story. My wife, I wish she was sitting here to back it up, but the story I'm going to tell about that. Well, first of all, congratulations on being a part of a season going undefeated, because I tell everybody all the time, I've got a total of 6 state championship rings, but I've only went undefeated twice and won a ring. And I've only had the opportunity to say I've run the table twice in my life out of all the wins and everything. That is one of the most difficult things to do, is go from beginning to end, win a state championship and go undefeated. I won several state championships with 1 or 2 losses during the year, which was, hey, man, you win it, you love it no matter what. But to go undefeated, people don't understand how difficult that really is, and the things you have to battle throughout a year to be able to pull that off. But the 52-7 win that year against Thompson, we were an underdog going into that game. They had the quarterback out of Hawaii that went to Maryland, went to Alabama, then went to Maryland. The younger brother of Tua, he was their quarterback that year, and they were actually picked to beat us. But the story behind it is we played at Auburn at Jordan-Hare Stadium, and we went to walkthroughs the day before. We played on a Wednesday night in Alabama. That was a 7A state championship night that they did it, and we went to walkthroughs on Tuesday evening. We were going to practice later that night at their practice facility, but we walked on the field. And when we walked on the field, we walked out there, and I noticed just all the kids were taking pictures of the scoreboard. I had not really looked around. I had been there before, so I was just hanging out. I like to watch the kids that ain't never been in a big stadium before, just their eyes light up. And, it's just amazing. And you get the feeling that I've given these kids something they've never seen before, and they're taking pictures. But I noticed everyone was taking pictures of the scoreboard and looking up and everything else. So I look up there, and it said on the scoreboard, Thompson 52 and Central 7. And it was on the scoreboard, and the score was up there. And the funny thing about it was, I believe Auburn had played Furman the weekend before. And they had just left the score up there and had put the names. I guess I don't think anybody intended it to be that way. It just ended up. Well, you talk about as a coach looking for motivation, brother. I didn't have to say anything else. It led over to practice. It led over to the team meals. People talked about it and posted it, and it just went crazy. And the crazier thing about it was we get in the ball game and we hit 52-7. And it was like everybody was just fighting, number one, for them to not score again. And number two, offensively, the coaches over the headset was even saying, Coach, let's just don't score right here. This is perfect. This is great. Just so happened it worked out that way. But I tell people that story all the time about how faith is, belief, and everything. But that was the craziest moment ever, is going in there and seeing that and having to go through it. Now, of course, the next year we get back, we face Thompson. They've got motivation. We fumble 4 times, and heck, we lose the ball game. But, it was one of the biggest moments. And to see Phoenix City, if you're able to watch that our stadium was completely full in the lower bowl of Auburn, not the upper deck, because those people just had a fire for it. And I know Picayune's a place like that. I'm trying to get this community built to that, because I'm finding out these places on the coast, man, they got so many things going on. High school football's last on their list sometimes. And we're trying to build that to get our stadium. Last week was exciting because on 3rd down and 4th down, you see me get excited about it. I actually heard some fans kicking the bleachers trying to get people up and all. And I've been talking about that. And man, it was exciting to hear just a little bit of a roar, like people are starting to understand, man, it's 3rd and 4th down. We got to get off the field. And that was exciting to hear last week. But I appreciate you asking about that. Phoenix City, the undefeated year, was wonderful. They did a documentary thing there one time called The Day in the Life of Jamey Dubose. I like that. The guy won actually an award doing that. It was a radio guy, and he followed me around from the time I woke up that morning coming out of the house and going. And it describes a little bit of the process that I believe in, of how we do pregame meal, how we do our walkthroughs, y'all got to understand, I told you before, when I walk out these doors, my wife would tell you, she would laugh. She'd say, I have no direction. She is my everything. She leads me down the road. She tells me where to go. I forget everything. I can't remember anything. I'm just kind of there. But when I walk in here, everything has to be perfectly orchestrated. This is a Tuesday. I have routines that I do on Tuesday. On game day, I have certain things I eat at certain times. I have certain things I do. It's that belief. It goes back to what I believe in is a part of winning. And to me, you've got to have that to be able to be successful in anything you do. And if you don't, then you don't. I mean, it just don't happen. And, I even have a poker chip. And I tell people this, 2004, I got a poker chip in a pregame meal that a motivational speaker gave out about being all in. And I went back to that. Is it a slogan or is it a lifestyle? And on that poker chip, I've got little slogans written that I hear, words that motivate or keep us going. And, those are just little things that you got to play on too. But it's coaching football and coaching high school football is unbelievable. I had the opportunity to go to college a few times. And sometimes you look back and say, well, what if? But I don't regret the decision I made to say no, because I love high school football. I love being around these young men, and I love seeing them grow as athletes. I love signing day when you see a kid sign and that his family didn't have the opportunity to send him to college, and now a guy's going to change the whole aspect. I had a guy at Central Phoenix City who had 5 brothers and sisters, and they come from a lower economic status, didn't have much. He was not very educated. His whole family was not. He was going to be the first one to graduate high school. And of course, nobody had ever been to college. Well, he was 6'5", 365 pounds when I got him. And now he's at Valdosta State. I think he graduates this year from college, and he's still playing. And nobody in his family had ever been to college or anything. That's why I coach high school football. Not necessarily for the state championships, but to know that these guys, I got a guy right now that calls me every Christmas morning because he was in trouble in high school. He was labeled a trouble guy. He never was going to make it. He was never going to do that. I remember in the semifinal game when we lost his senior year, him hugging his neck, telling me I was the first one to ever carry him to church, because we do prayer breakfast every Friday morning of game day. And that guy now, who was in trouble and in alternative school and everything else, he was able to form a deal to where he went to college, went to junior college, then he went off to college. Now he's a father of 3 and got a wife and living in Huntsville, Alabama. And this guy, back when I got to Phoenix City, everybody told me he ain't going to make it, coach. He ain't going to make it. And that's why we talk in our program all the time how society labels us. We don't live on labels. We're going to be who we are. And it's who we got to build, but never label anybody. So, there's all kind of things around our program. If you come and hung out, I'm all into the motivational world if you can't figure it out. And that's the way I wake up my day, and we go from there. But man, I'm excited to be in Mississippi. It's been a good run so far, and we hope we can hang on here for long enough to really see the success like a Picayune and down the road of teams that have really been able to do it down here on the coast.
Well, Coach, we certainly appreciate you taking time for us, working us into your routine. And one of the things I saw you had written you were considering doing before going to Biloxi was podcasts, and we definitely appreciate you doing ours. And I think you got a future for that. We'd also love to have you back. We're going to let you get out of here, Coach. But before that, just one last thing. Looking at the schedule, and you mentioned already very tough opponents with Holmes County and Pascagoula. Both games decided by 3 points. One you were on the one side in, one came up a little bit short to get over that hump.
We ran out of time. Just ran out of time. We didn't come out short. We'd had another minute, we'd have won.
I like it.
I'll go back and correct myself there, Coach. But Coach, if you're looking at the Picayune film, I know you've got a chance to look at some of that on Huddle. You've been very complimentary of the program and what Coach Stogner and his staff have tried to build. What's a couple of signs that things are going well for the Indians come Friday night?
Well, first of all, if we're able to stop the run and slow them down, then things ought to be going hopefully pretty good for us, because I think if Coach Stogner and Picayune, I think if they can run the football, you're in trouble, man. You are in deep trouble. You just better hold on and go. We don't want it to turn into a track meet where they score and we got to go back down and score. We're going to have to get them off the field on 3rd down, because they're going to be in 3rd and shorts. So we're going to have to create some havoc and get them in throwing downs. We need to get them in 3rd and 8. We need to give them 3rd and 9, and we can't fall asleep on play action, man. They're really good about slipping those tight ends out and doing things like that. So we're going to have to do a great job of being sound, not only in the run game, but in play action and watching what he does there. And then offensively, we can't turn the ball over. And we're going to have to execute. We're going to have to execute on 3rd and shorts, because we're going to be in them. We know, and that was something that hurt us in the second half this past week. We get in 3rd and short. We got to stay in front of the sticks. We got to eliminate those mental mistakes and getting us in 1st and 15, 2nd and 15. We got to stay in front of those sticks and keep us in those manageable downs so we can pick them up. And I think if we can do that, we get the turnover battle's always big, man. In a game like this Friday night, the turnover battle is going to be huge. So we got to be plus. If we can be plus, I think we'll be fine. And I'm going to tell y'all this: every time it's a good close ball game, and I tell our players this every week, and I'm starting to make them understand, special teams is going to be a deciding factor. And we want to. I tell guys all the time this right here: we would love to win them, but if we don't win them, let's break even. Let's just don't lose the special team battle. You know, the first week against Holmes County, we lost it. They ran a punt back for a touchdown, and we lost the special teams battle. Last week, our players, I told them we broke even. We didn't win it. We didn't lose it. We didn't give up a big play. We didn't have anything negative happen, but we didn't lose it anyway. And so, therefore, we were able to nudge them out and win a close one. So we've got to break even or win in the special teams battle, I think, for this thing to be decided, but it may come down to that. But man, I tell you what, you're right. Coach does an outstanding job. I love what they do, and you know he wins year in and year out. There's something to be said for that. And you know, Picayune fans ought to be proud they got a coach like Coach Stogner. And man, I'm excited to get down there and meet him and see him again. I got to meet him last year for the first time in a JV game, and had a great conversation with him. Seems like a wonderful guy every time I've talked to him. So, you know, I'm just excited we got him on the schedule. I'm excited to play good football teams. You know, when I was at Central, we don't run from IMG. When I was at Prattville, we went to Miami Northwestern. We went to Miami Central. We played Don Bosco. Man, I'll play whoever. It doesn't matter. It's football, and it's the only way it's going to get you better. And like I told you before, when you worry about wins and losses and getting fired, you're going to get fired and you ain't going to be successful. You can't worry about things like that. You got to put it out there and you got to get better every day. And that's what life's about. You got to be better. You're going to get knocked down, but life's about getting back up, and it's about going. And that's what we try to preach to our kids every day.
Thank you, Coach. This has been awesome, man, to be able to kind of walk back through some of your past and your current. So we certainly appreciate your time. Look forward to shaking your hand on Friday night.
Man, anytime y'all need somebody, I love talking football. I love talking life, and, you know, just give me a call. I appreciate what y'all do, man. This is wonderful to do a high school podcast or a show or whatever, and promoting kids and promoting the sport of high school football. People are looking down on it a lot in a lot of ways now. There's nothing to look down on high school football. The reason I am who I am is high school football. I think success is about high school football toughness. It's one of the only things you still build toughness in. You got to get out there in that hot sun, and you got to work, and you got to build unity, and you got to work together. That's something this world needs more of. And I just appreciate y'all putting light on that and doing what you do, man. Thank you so much.
Well, we thank you, Coach, and we're praying for safe travels for you and your squad on Friday night en route to Lee Triplett Stadium.
Absolutely. Thanks so much, and go Big Red.
Thanks, Coach.
Coach.
Thank you.